We made it, the final week of the season. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, September 22nd. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we have a bunch of injury updates. A bunch of pitchers went on the IL this weekend. Yordan Alvarez finally placed in the IL as well. Potential waiver wire ads to plug in, start or sit decisions, and much more. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, thank you guys for leaving me the Olive Garden breadstick of the weekend. That is Emmet Sheehan, who saw his amazing start go to waste on Sunday. Against the Giants, 7 shutout innings, 1 hit, 10 strikeouts to 0 walks, 17 whiffs on 84 pitches, 10 of those on the fastball, 6 on the slider. Velocity was down in this one. It has been down the past couple of starts, but it has not mattered one bit. I mentioned fastball and slider were amazing here. Last 5 games, 4 of those being starts for Sheehan. 1.15 ERA, a .61 whip, 42 strikeouts to just 7 walks over 31 and a third innings, 63% rostered. He's at the Mariners this week. I don't think it matters. I think Emmet Sheehan's just must start. Final week. Throw him out there.
Yeah. I mean, he's still available enough to qualify for sleeper pitchers. I moved him up 1 spot ahead of 2-start Ian Seymour. I was tempted to move him up ahead of 2-start Justin Verlander too, as good as Verlander's matchups are for this week, because I don't see how you sit Sheehan with the kind of run he's on. I have over his last 6 starts, it's like a 19% swinging strike rate, which is something only Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, they can only dream of a 19% swinging strike rate. That is not something ordinary pitchers do. Obviously, it's over a small sample, but we've seen this from Sheehan before in the minors. He was a huge bat misser like that. 2023 as a rookie, that final month, he started doing that. Like, this guy has incredible bat missing ability, and I think the biggest worry for Emmet Sheehan as as kind of the start of the career of his career is playing out here is just, would the Dodgers let him pitch long enough for it to amount to something in fantasy? But 4 of his last 6 starts, 6 innings or more. I don't know that they're all technically starts, but 4 of his last 6 appearances, 6 innings or more, and 2 or 3 of them are like 7, including this one. So that doesn't seem to be an issue for Emmet Sheehan anymore. I think he's great.
I'll just also point out, I don't really even think we have to do the last 6 starts thing for Emmet Sheehan to make him look good. You just take the total package right now. You're talking about a 2.86 ERA, a 3.02 FIP, a strikeout rate. I'm gonna guess it's up over 30%, if not right at 30%. Good enough control. You're talking about like an 8% walk rate. Even taking the whole season as a sample size, among pitchers with at least 60 innings, he is 18th in swinging strike rate. That's out of 262 pitchers who have thrown at least 60 innings. Looking at other starters who are ahead of him, Hunter Green, Dylan Cease, Logan Gilbert, Tarek Skubal. That is it in the entire league. Those are the only starting pitchers with a higher whiff rate than Emmet Sheehan this season. It's only 72 innings. There are, I still think, some questions about what his role is going to be in 2026, but at this point, I think they have to have him in the rotation. Like, I get that they've got a lot more invested in Roki Sasaki. I mean, not literally, it's a minimum contract, but for the organization, it sure feels like Roki Sasaki is.
I don't know why he would get. He's just another minor leaguer, Roki Sasaki.
In theory.
No, in reality, that is what his contract was.
Right, no. His
But his status.
Yeah, he's a bigger deal than Bobby Miller, Like, getting him right matters more for that franchise, for that organization than anything else. But
I don't know that I agree with that, given
even
his age
with
and
that,
given his.
But I would say even with that, they're going to have a 6-man rotation next year. Clayton Kershaw's out of the picture. There should be room for both Sheehan and Roki Sasaki at the start of next season if those are the 2 guys, because you've got Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Ohtani. I'm not forgetting.
I mean, it just seems like we don't even have any evidence Roki Sasaki can pitch in the majors. Like, we have yet to see him do that with even a modicum of success.
I agree.
So you got this breakout ace.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
That would be self-destructive on the Dodgers.
I agree.
Part, and I think they're smarter than that.
Say it again.
Yes. It took a long time for Sheehan to actually get the opportunity this year, and then to consistently get the
back from
opportunity.
Tommy John. I mean,
right, but
and
Roki
he was
Sasaki
unproven at the time
penciled,
too.
Right, but what I'm saying is Roki Sasaki was penciled in the rotation at the start of the season. Sheehan had to earn his spot. Maybe he's done enough, and maybe there's just a spot for both of them anyway. But I'm just saying, I wish it was 100% guaranteed, because it should be.
I mean, the way we've seen them handle Roki Sasaki, because he's been back for like 6 weeks, right? Pitching. Clearly, he's had to earn his way back onto the roster, and he hasn't been able to do that. So I think that says a lot. I'm going to go ahead and nominate Emmet Sheehan as the guy when fantasy footballers come back next spring and they're cramming for their fantasy baseball draft. They're going to be like, Emmet Sheehan. Why is this guy so high? He's going to be the one fantasy footballers don't see coming, because this basically happened beginning that 5-start stretch is like right at the end of August when they would have tuned out of fantasy baseball. So there's your guy fantasy footballers won't see coming, Emmet Sheehan.
I do have 2 quick follow-ups here on Emmet Sheehan. I think shallow league problems for this week. Kyle Bradish, 77% roster. He's not really out there in too many leagues, but he was amazing again this weekend. Who would you guys rather use for just this week? Sheehan at the Mariners or Kyle Bradish at the Yankees?
Sheehan. I even if it was just the same matchup, I think it's a toss-up, but at Seattle is a better place to pitch than at New York.
Okay, so realistically, you should start both.
Yep.
So let's just put that out there. But if you're forcing me to choose, there is, I think, a small chance that like Sheehan's become such an instrumental part of the Dodgers pitching staff. His turn lines up for the very last day of the season. Would they be like, let's just run a spot starter out there and have Emmet Sheehan totally fresh for the playoffs? I think there is
maybe
a small percentage chance of that. Look, I assume their playoff rotation would begin Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow all over Sheehan, and maybe Ohtani too. I mean, well, they've talked about using Ohtani. I don't know what they're going to do with Ohtani, but I presume Sheehan would be no higher than 4th in a playoff scenario. And so they might like him getting that work the final day of the season, but they might not. And Bradish, for sure, Orioles aren't going anywhere. He struck out 9 or more, Kyle Bradish has, in 3 of his 5 starts. 9 strikeouts or more. So he's been excellent too. I wouldn't be scared of using him against the Yankees. And I'm not saying, Chris, that you are scared of using him, but I would be more fearful of maybe them doing something funny with Sheehan on the last day of the season.
And just give me a yes or no to this question. And perhaps I'm forgetting about someone else, but has Emmet Sheehan leapfrogged Nolan McLean as the breakout, exciting pitcher for next season? Do you think Sheehan will go higher than Nolan McLean? Because it feels like those two are kind of going to be like the most hyped up breakouts for next season.
The only reason he wouldn't would just be concerns about his role in 2026. Obviously, not just even if assuming he's in the rotation, it'll be a 6-man rotation. That doesn't matter a whole lot, but it matters a little bit. So if you think they're close enough that it's a tiebreaker, that could be a reason to use a tiebreaker. But one, the Mets are probably going to use a 6-man rotation for long stretches of next season, I would guess, given the fact that they will likely have at least 3 young guys in there. And I'm not necessarily even sure it's a tiebreaker. I might just take Emmet Sheehan ahead of Nolan McLean right now.
Yeah, I think Chris summed it up well, though he didn't do it in one word.
Yes, fair enough. All right, Scott, let's go over to you for your player of the weekend.
Okay, here's a guy everybody's forgotten about, and I say that looking at his roster rate. Spencer Steer. He took an 0 for Sunday, but homered twice on Friday, homered again on Saturday. He actually now has more home runs this year than last year, and a higher OPS this year than last year, when he was regarded as pretty much a must-start player, right? Now, he hasn't stolen as many bases. He has 7 steals versus 25 last year. So maybe it's fair that he's not being regarded in nearly the same way. But I think everybody kind of wrote Spencer Steer off early. He had the injury that was kind of keeping him out of the lineup and impacting his production. But he's really come around here in the second half. And given that steals are such a matter of intent, a decision-based stat, I've called them before. Like there's no reason he couldn't get back to stealing bases next year. I don't know that we should treat that decline in steals the same way we might treat a decline in home runs. Sure, it makes Steer less bankable for them, but does it really change the stolen base potential for him? I don't think so. So, it looks like he still matters in fantasy. He was written off too soon. I actually added him to my sleeper hitters list for the final week, not because the Reds matchups are so great, but because we lost Dalen Lyle to an injury. And boy, it was really hard to come up with 10 sleeper hitters for this final week. So Spencer Steer's in there, and I imagine we're going to care about him in drafts again next year.
I think that's going to depend on where he's playing. Do the Reds, he's not a free agent, but he is, I think, entering his first or second year of arbitration eligibility. And I feel like he is really Park dependent, because you look at the expected home runs by Park for his career in Cincinnati, it's 76. If he spent his whole career in Pittsburgh, it would be 37.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He has for a guy who has hit 20 homers in each of his first 3 seasons, he has pretty limited raw power. It's, I would say, average, maybe a little below. Now he, hits the ball in the air and does the things we want. The pulled air rate is very strong. But even saying that, this is a guy that, like, if a bat needy team like, I don't know, the Marlins or Pirates, let's say, went and traded for him, that would probably be a pretty big ding to his value.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he left Cincinnati, that would be a problem. I know it's been a point of frustration for people who picked up Sal Stewart that Spencer Steer has been starting over Sal Stewart. I think Sal Stewart sat out 3 games in a row.
Straight, yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure the Reds front office probably wants to make Sal Stewart a prominent part of the lineup, and so they may want to take that decision out of Terry Francona's hands. Of course, we've seen Steer can play the outfield, so there are avenues for him. But yeah, I mean, it's not totally unthinkable that Steer could get traded in the offseason. That would definitely change things, to Chris's point.
And a fine replacement if you lost out on Yordan Alvarez, though. If we're being honest, if you had Yordan Alvarez and drafted him early, you're probably not playing for much at this point in the season anyway. All right, Chris, let's go over to you for your player of the weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about Jacob Misiorowski, who, if the season had ended in July, like late July, we're probably talking about him as like a top 20 starting pitcher in 2026, right? And now he's been pretty bad since coming off the IL. It was a leg injury, no idea. I think we kind of assumed it was not a serious injury and was mostly just a way to limit his innings, but he has looked really bad. It's 21 runs in 30 and a third innings. Still 37 strikeouts in that stretch, which is very healthy, but he had, I think it was 47 strikeouts in his first 33 innings. So that number has come down significantly. The walks are still super high. In this one, he gave up 2 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. That is the fourth time in his last 6 starts that he has failed to finish 5 innings. I really don't know where we're going to rank Jacob Misiorowski for next season. I'm going to be doing, I've been doing my toughest players to rank at every position, and starting pitching obviously has about 40 guys who are impossible to rank. But Misiorowski feels like he's going to be right at the top of that list because the upside is obvious. He's got some of the nastiest stuff in the game. He is an intimidating presence on the mound, and we saw it in action. We saw him be an impact player for fantasy, even with those limitations. But we are getting a reminder here that as impressive as Misiorowski has been, there's a reason he was not really ever considered one of the 2 or 3 best pitching prospects in baseball. Maybe after he got to the majors and we saw it in action, maybe people would have put him in that discussion. But, coming up, this was a guy who had a lot to prove and was more like, I don't know, the 10th best pitching prospect before his debut. So, I don't know.
I think we'll definitely have him behind Nolan McLean and Emmet Sheehan.
I would say behind Chase Burns, now that we've seen a little downside from Misiorowski, which I was leaning that way anyway. So, it's going to be fascinating. I would still think top 30 or top 36 starting pitcher. At the very least, he's going to get drafted that way. I think the upside is going to push him that range. But I agree with the faces that you two were both making when I said that.
I'm just thinking of who's in that range of my current rest of season. That's where I have Kyle Bradish right now. And
Bradish should be higher than that next year, I would say.
Okay, but you get much higher than that. You get into like George Kirby and Bradish should probably be higher, I guess. But like I got Andrew Abbott there in that range. Cole Reagans will obviously have to move up.
I think
Dylan Cease is in that range.
Misiorowski's definitely going to go ahead of Andrew Abbott next year. Whether he should or not is a different question, but he definitely will.
That's fair. I have Yuri Perez lower than that.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I could see Misiorowski still being ahead of Perez.
Cam Schlittler.
I would guess Misiorowski is going to be ahead of Schlittler. This is a tough conversation because it's trying to predict not just what I would do, but what other people would do. Like, I would think Misiorowski is going to be ranked ahead of Matthew Boyd next season.
Yeah.
I mean, given how hard Boyd is faded here at the end, that's... But how high should Boyd rank? Like, I don't know that any of these guys
I have no idea. I will let you know next week.
Try to figure out exactly where the cutoff is at starting pitcher, where it's like, oh, I definitely want this guy starting every game for me, versus, maybe he'll be good. Because I think Jacob Misiorowski belongs in the latter category. Maybe he'll be good. And I'm not sure that I'm not sure that's inside the top 40.
But it's maybe he'll be great. I think that's the thing that's going to push
maybe he'll be
Misiorowski.
useless.
Sure, I agree. It just, I think the upside is what's going to tantalize people. What I do find continuously interesting about Misiorowski is the slider is the pitch that has like gotten the most attention and like the most GIFs, and because it's a 94-mile-an-hour slider. It's his worst pitch by basically every metric. Quality of contact allowed, whiff rate, everything about his slide. It's not a bad pitch, certainly, but 20% whiff rate, 340 xwOBA, that is worse than the rest of his arsenal across the board, which I find fascinating.
For this final week, Misiorowski is 53% started, and he faces the Reds at home. Would you guys start or sit Misiorowski?
I would sit him.
I think I would start him, but I would only expect 5 innings from it, so it's fringy.
I would use both Kyle Bradish and Emmet Sheehan over Jacob Misiorowski.
Yeah. I'm playing for the championship in the For the People League, which is a 16-team categories, head-to-head categories league. I'm dropping him. I'm dropping him. Obviously, I don't have to worry about anybody picking him up at this point, but I'm picking up like Parker Messick or whoever else is on my sleeper pitchers list for Jacob Misiorowski.
All right, buckle up because we do have some tight postseason races as well entering the final week of the season. The Guardians are red hot. They are just 1 game behind the Detroit Tigers in the AL Central, and they face each other starting on Tuesday. So that is going to be crazy. The Mariners swept the Astros this weekend, giving them a 3-game lead in the AL West. The Astros and Guardians, by the way, are tied for the final wildcard spot in the American League. The Yankees 2 games behind the Blue Jays in the AL East. The Reds and Mets are tied for the final NL wildcard spot. The Reds own the tiebreaker there. So if the season ended right now, the Mets would be out and the Reds would be in the playoffs. Also, the D-backs are just 1 game behind both. So lots to play for, lots to pay attention to this final week of the season. Big thank you to everybody who is sending in tweets and emails telling us how you won your league this season. Love to see it. Continue to send those in. If we helped you win your league and or you just enjoy our content all season long, make sure to drop a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify and leave a review on Apple if you could. It does help things out quite a bit here, so we appreciate that. And thanks to those watching live, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe or stay subscribed throughout the offseason as well. Let's take that break. We'll be back right after this.
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. News and notes, lots of injuries from the weekend. Yordan Alvarez was officially placed in the IL with that left ankle sprain, retroactive to September 16th. He's yet to take part in baseball activities and will not play at all in the final week. Just a brutal season of injuries all around here for Alvarez, and replacements for the final week on Scott's sleeper hitter list. We have Trent Grisham, Dylan Cruz, Chandler Simpson, Spencer Steer, also an option there.
Yep.
If you lost out on Yordan Alvarez. Brandon Woodruff was placed in the IL with a moderate right lat strain, retroactive to September 18th. He suffered the injury during his bullpen on Saturday. Pat Murphy said it's too early to tell if Woodruff will be available for the postseason. Brian Wu left his start early Friday with right pec tightness. Imaging revealed minor inflammation, and we don't know if he will start this week. He threw 5 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts against the Astros on Friday. He picked up the win before he left that start. Have you guys seen anything? Would you not risk it?
I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, I can't. So the Mariners are in first place with
By
the
3
3-game
games.
lead,
Yep.
which is going to be difficult to blow in a 6-game week. And like he's their ace.
Mm-hmm.
At least he has been this year. So I think it's going to be a much higher priority to make sure Brian Wu is right for the playoffs than to have him pitch what could be a meaningless start at the end of this week.
I agree.
Pablo Lopez went on the IL with a mild right forearm strain. His MRI showed no concerns with his elbow or UCL ligament. Rough season for Lopez as well. He's dealt with shoulder injury and now this. So does create some questions heading into next season. Mick Abel was recalled. I assume we have no interest in Mick Abel, right?
No.
I mean, not no interest long-term, but yes, this week, certainly.
Yeah. Chris Bassett was placed in the IL with lower back inflammation, retroactive to Friday. Imaging revealed a hairline fracture in Will Smith's right hand. Dave Roberts said it's doubtful that Smith will play again in the regular season and is unsure about the postseason. Trey Turner
And
is
there's
Dalton
3
Rushing.
catchers on the sleeper hitters list for this week. And I hate putting 3 catchers, but there's 3 on there. So it's a good week to lose your catcher, certainly in a 1-catcher league. But you know what? 2 of those catchers are probably available in 2-catcher leagues, too. Carter Jensen
Mm-hmm.
and
He's hitting
Moises
leadoff
Ballesteros. Yeah. Did he Sunday also? I know he did Saturday, Jensen. Okay. Yeah, he's been great.
And Dalton Rushing has only played 2 games since coming off the IL last week, or started only 2 games, so I don't think this is going to lead to playing time for him. Unfortunately, it is the Ben Rortfit show in Los Angeles.
So Carter Jensen led off on Friday and Saturday. He was batting 7th here on Sunday, but he has started 8 straight games here for the Royals. So getting some run, making the most of it, has prospect pedigree. And of course, in 1-catcher leagues, Drake Baldwin is at the top of that list. He's hit 2 more home runs this weekend. He's been awesome. He's playing nearly every day as well. Trey Turner is scheduled to face live pitching Tuesday and Wednesday at Citizens Bank Park. He's working his way back from a grade 1 right hamstring strain and is hoping to be ready for the postseason. Jeremy Pena was scratched Sunday due to a left oblique soreness. Starter sit Jeremy Pena.
Well, I haven't seen the severity of this one. Oblique soreness sounds like it could be serious. Obviously, the Astros are fighting tooth and nail right now, so they might be more willing to risk it. And shortstop's a tough position to fill. I think the best on my sleeper hitters list is Ha-Sung Kim, who did homer twice over the weekend. And the Braves have the 4th best matchup. So maybe if you're worried, that might be okay to sit Pena for Kim.
But I would prefer to wait until I got confirmation that Pena's out.
Sure.
Junior Caminero returns to the lineup Saturday after missing 2 straight with a back issue. CJ Abrams was out of the lineup Sunday with a jammed right shoulder. He's also been pretty bad in the second half. Now dealing with this injury, it feels like a pretty good excuse to get away from Abrams in the final week, unless you need steals. Obviously, he's still really good in that category.
There are only 3 games Monday. So every team plays 6 games, but most of the off days are Monday. 3 games Monday. The Braves are playing one of the games. So you're going to have to make a decision on Kim probably before you see anything on Pena, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Abrams, if you wanted to go that direction too.
Yeah. The Nationals do play on Monday, so I guess we'll find out right away if Abrams is in the lineup or not on Monday. Wyatt Langford returned to the lineup Sunday after missing 2 games with left side tightness. He's dealt with issues to both obliques this season. Starter sit, Wyatt Langford.
He played Sunday, right?
Yeah, I'd start him.
Yeah, he should be fine.
Edward Cabrera is returning on Tuesday, which might make him a 2-start pitcher against the Mets and at the Phillies. If he only makes 1 start, it's at the Phillies. 59% rostered. He did not have a rehab assignment. I assume we're staying away from Edward Cabrera.
Seems like the prudent course of action with no rehab assignment, especially, and they're not great matchups. So yeah, I think that's a no.
The best case scenario for Trevor McGill is to return for the playoffs. Abner Uribe and Jared Koenig will continue to share high leverage situations. Xander Bogaerts is expected to return on Monday. He's 78% rostered, could be out there in some shallower leagues if you're in need of a shortstop we just spoke about Jeremy Pena and CJ Abrams, so perhaps Bogaerts is an option. Marcus Semien took live BP and did some running on Friday. He's trying to return from a fracture in his left foot. The A's placed Sean Newcomb on the IL with left elbow inflammation. Hogan Harris and Michael Kelly should see high leverage situations there for those in the deepest of leagues chasing saves at this point. Austin Hayes left Saturday's game with back spasms and then was out of the lineup on Sunday, so might want to get away from Austin Hayes this final week. Seth Lugo will not return this season due to that back injury. The Tigers designated Charlie Morton for assignment after trading for him at the deadline. Willier Abreu was activated from the IL Sunday after missing a month with a calf strain. Starter sit Willier Abreu.
Let me double check the matchups there. How many lefties are on the schedule for Boston? It looks like just 1.
Feels like just 5 outfielder leagues, right? For him?
Yeah, and the opposing pitchers are pretty tough. And he did strike out 4 times in his return here. So I'd have to be a deeper league to use Willier Abreu, I think.
Dalen Lyle left Sunday's game with a knee contusion. Again, the Nationals play on Monday, so we'll find out about that. Good news for Ivan Herrera's 2026 value. As manager Oliver Marmol said, Herrera will prepare exclusively as a catcher this offseason. So middle of the year, he went on the IL, dealt with some knee issues, and so that's the reason why he hasn't caught here in the second half. But good news that Herrera will be likely used as a catcher again next season, and he's been a great hitter. So just add another one to the crowded catcher position for next season.
I read he had an elbow thing too. Like he's going to have elbow surgery this offseason because has something going on in there that prevented him from doing the throwing motion needed to catch, which is the main reason why they took him off the position. I don't know if you guys had heard that. That was news to me.
I thought it was mostly the knee thing, but I'm seeing the elbow surgery as well now.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Doesn't mean he's going to be the primary catcher, and he doesn't have catcher eligibility. He's not going to retain it into next year. So it's unclear how long it will take him to regain it. But just the fact he will, and it'll be one of those sneaky picks. Like what's the most recent example? I remember it was true for Stephen Vogt like 10 years ago. He's the Guardians manager now, so that's probably a really old reference. But like one of those non-catchers, they don't currently have catcher eligibility, so you can't draft them to fill the catcher spot. But you anticipate them picking up eligibility at the position, so they end up being really valuable. That's with that's with maybe the deepest catcher pool ever now. So maybe it's not as lucrative of a pick as it might have seemed a few years ago. But we all believe Herrera's a really good hitter.
I will say, if he's going to play as much as the average catcher, so not Cal Raleigh or Agustin Ramirez, but the average guy who plays 4.5 times per week, let's say, is he the number 6 catcher, number 10. I think somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think top 10 or 12. But
Like, would you rather, if they were both catcher eligible entering next season, who would you rather have, Ben Rice or Ivan Herrera?
I would take
Rice.
Rice. Yeah,
Rice.
I think so. He's 6 for me right now. Would you rather have Salvador Perez or Ivan Herrera?
And it's take Salvi because we don't. I mean,
close.
you're kind of setting. You're saying if we assume Herrera is going to play as much as the average catcher,
Right. We don't know.
so am I supposed to assume that when deciding whether I want him or Salvi?
Well, yeah, that's what the question was predicated on.
Presuming he has catcher to start out and presuming he's playing every day, I still think I'd take Salvi, but I'm saying we don't actually he won't actually have catcher eligibility, and we can't assume how often he's playing. So,
but I think top 12 for sure.
Yeah,
and possibly top 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. You guys mentioned this earlier, but Sal Stewart has sat out 3 straight with Spencer Steer back in the lineup. I assume we should avoid Sal Stewart here, final week. Yep. Others who went on the IL this weekend: Colt Keith with right rib cage inflammation, Matt Wallner with a strained right oblique, Zach Geloff with a dislocated left shoulder, Nolan Jones with a right oblique strain, Michael Kopech with right knee inflammation, Lucas Urseg with a right shoulder impingement, and Martin Perez with a left shoulder strain. All right, Chris, I'll throw it over to you for the dog of the week.
And now it's time for the Dog of the Week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, Foxyloner, Moxidectin, and Parental Chewable Tablets. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders, and ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. Robbie Ray is the Dog of the Week, and he's kind of been the dog of the second half at this point. He was facing the Dodgers for the second start in a row. That's a tall task for any pitcher. But he now has, I believe it's a 5.54 ERA since the All-Star break. It was 2.65 before the break. His strikeout rate has dropped from 20 to 21%, from 27% in that time. He's gone from 9.5 walk rate to 10.5. I'm open to the idea that Robbie Ray was maybe pitching a little over his head in the first half. He was not, a true talent level top 12 pitcher or whatever he looked like, but I'm having trouble making a lot of sense of the second half slide outside of he threw 34 innings the previous 2 seasons combined. Yeah. There have been some velocity fluctuations. There was one start especially where he was averaging like 91, 92 with his fastball, which was alarming, but for the most part, his fastball velocity has actually been up in the second half of the season. So I don't have a good reason to think that he's fatigued, but that just seems like the most likely explanation for why Robbie Ray's been so bad, right?
I don't have a better one. I wish I did because it's frustrating. I mean, there's a lot of this going around, like pitchers who we had become mainstays in fantasy rotations, borderline aces even, and they're just collapsing down the stretch. Framber Valdez, Joe Ryan. Of course, we mentioned Matthew Boyd and Andrew Abbott already. They're kind of reshaping the 2026 rankings in real time because particularly in the case of those first 3 I mentioned, Ray, Ryan, and what was the third one I mentioned? Framber Valdez. They seem like potential top 15 pitchers. Yeah. And now, I don't know. I mean, Valdez has the track record that maybe he'll still get that benefit of the doubt.
He's 31, heading into free agency. The thing that's most worrisome about Valdez for me is he's already throwing the curveball like 30, 38% of the time over the past 6 starts, and he's still been bad. That's always been kind of he's struggling, but it's because he doesn't have a curveball. Well, right now he's throwing the curveball, and he's struggling. So what's the break glass in case of emergency move for Framber Valdez?
The thing is, he used to not need the curveball.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I mean, I give a lot of credence to track record. Unless I see clear signs of decline, I'm not going to worry age 31. I mean, that doesn't sound too old for a pitcher. unless his velocity's like dropping, but it's not.
For me, it's a combination of just he's old enough that if he dropped off, it wouldn't be surprising, and he might be dealing with a change of scenery this offseason. Like, there are a couple of pitchers. Zach Allen's kind of having the opposite situation from Framber, where he's only looking good now in August and September, and it's like, I might let the market tell me, like the actual MLB market, tell me how to feel about Framber Valdez and Zach Allen, just because if Framber still gets an, $100 million contract, is that too much?
I assume he will.
I would assume so.
I assume he'll get the biggest contract of any free agent pitcher, right? He'd get more than Dylan Cease, I would think.
That'll
close. It'd be close between those two. But is anyone else even in the same category?
Depends how you feel about Ranger Suarez, I guess.
Yeah, I think Suarez is going to be in that range. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was a free agent. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just like Robbie Ray's a different scenario because he had been off our radar for 2 years. So, our expectations were so low that a rough second half might be enough to undo a good first half. But Framber Valdez has been so bankable year in and year out. I think he gets a pass for a bad half of pitching, even if it is the most recent half we've seen.
I think so.
Robbie Ray, by the way, I just wanted to put some numbers on it as well. Last 6 starts, 8.13 ERA, 1.77 WHIP, 5.2 walks per 9. So his control has just been abysmal. 53% started in the final week. He gets the Cardinals, which is a pretty good matchup.
I'd start them, yeah.
You guys are using Robbie Ray?
No, I'm probably not. I mean, he's been. I don't try like it. It always depends. Like, what kind of league are you thinking? I think the league size we default to on this podcast is 12 teams, so that's usually what I have in mind. And in a 12-teamer, like I would sit Framber Valdez with the way he's been pitching the last 6 weeks for any of my sleeper pitchers. I actually kind of like my sleeper pitchers for this final week.
Yeah, I agree with. Yeah, I would bench Ray for any of the guys we mentioned earlier, Sheehan and Bradish and Verlander with the great matchups. So yeah, totally fine with that.
Yeah, but even like further down the list, Tyler Wells, who doesn't even have as favorable a matchup. I think it's Tampa Bay. Treya Savage, who we'll get to him, I'm sure, but his second start wasn't so great. He's back against the Rays in his third start, he had the 9 strikeouts against first time out. I think I'd start Savage over Ray or Framber. See, my last pitcher is Steven Kolek on the sleeper pitchers list. Would I go that far?
I would not.
I don't think so.
It would depend what I'm looking for, I think, because I expect Robbie Ray and Framber Valdez to actively hurt my ERA and WHIP right now. If it's a points league or if I'm looking for strikeouts mainly, okay, maybe Ray.
All right, that was the Dog of the Week segment brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, Foxylaner, Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting preventive, and ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, we'll recap the rest of this weekend right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. I did want to get to this earlier, but here we are. The Royals, wanted to mention, 20 runs against the Blue Jays on Friday. They did that on 27 hits, including 3 homers, took full advantage of a position player, Tyler Heineman, who allowed 10 earned runs over an inning and a third of work here. Carter Jensen, who we mentioned, he went 3 for 7 with 3 doubles, 2 runs, 2 RBI, has started 8 straight, 9% rostered, a name you can look at in 2 catcher leagues. Vinny Pasquantino, Vinny P, baby, 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and 2 RBI. Big second half. He's up to 31 homers, 107 RBI, and 809 OPS on the season. Salvador Perez is finishing strong. Last 7 games for him, 333 with 3 homers and 12 RBI. Jack Caglione, nice game here, 2 for 5 with his 7th home run, 4 RBI. He has started 7 straight. He's 55% rostered, has first and outfield eligibility. Mostly has been underwhelming this season, no doubt about it. The Royals have the second best hitter matchups. Can I interest either of you in Jack Caglione this week?
Unfortunately, it is 2 lefties at least in the 6 games. So probably not. I mean, deep 5 outfielder league, maybe, but it wouldn't be something I'd be eager to do.
I'm very interested in him for next season, though. I know it's been largely a disaster. I mean, he's hitting 164 with a 551 OPS. The underlying numbers are much better. They're not like great, but a 335 xWOBA is actually not bad. For as bad as Caglione has been, his plate discipline isn't horrible. 21.6% strikeout rate is basically average. He hits the ball hard. Obviously, there's huge upside. He's going to be someone, if he falls outside of the top 150 in drafts next year, which I would expect he will, I will be very interested in drafting Jack Caglione. Remember, he was not viewed that differently from Nick Kurtz when they got called up. Obviously, it's gone very differently so far.
Who started for the Blue Jays in this game, by the way? Max Scherzer did not escape the first inning. He gave up 7 runs, only recorded 2 outs in this one, and over his last 5 starts, a 9.45 ERA, a 1.75 WHIP. Gets the Red Sox this week. I assume we're just out on Max Scherzer for this week.
See no reason to risk it with him.
I mean, even with Chris Bassett on the IL and Jose Barrios out of the rotation, I'm not sure Scherzer's going to be in the rotation for the postseason.
I assume Barrios is back in the rotation.
Yeah,
since
I guess
Bassett went on the IL the next day, though I haven't seen that for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah, Scherzer, you cannot and should not use him here in the final week. Waiver wire hitters for this last week of action. I have some shallow league third baseman. Royce Lewis is really finishing strong here. Had a steal on Friday, a 3-run homer on Sunday. Last 28 games, hitting 275 with 7 homers, 22 RBI, 11 steals during that time. Alec Boehm returned with a big weekend, 8 hits, 1 homer, 4 RBI. And Isaac Paredes returned this weekend. He started all 3 games. He homered on Sunday. Scott, I know he was
number 2
high
on the sleeper hitters. Yeah.
So I assume he would rank over those other 2 this last week.
Yes. Yeah, I think, I don't know. He was dropped in so many leagues. Maybe you have a stud third baseman and don't need to pick up Paredes, but I think he'd be a solid starter utility spot, corner infield spot, wherever. He was must start before the injury. And like I said, he got dropped in so many leagues because it wasn't clear he'd be back at all. Well, here he is back for the final week after starting all 3 games over the weekend, homering in 1. Astros have the best hitter matchups for the final week, I think. I think anywhere where you can fit Paredes in the lineup and you don't feel good about the player currently in that spot, I think you should just start Paredes. I think he could be really good.
If you still need a catcher in a 1-catcher league, we mentioned the name, but Drake Baldwin, last 7 games, hitting 393 with 3 homers and 12 RBI. The Reds, we spoke about Spencer Steer, who's been heating up. Matt McClain has been solid lately as well. 246 batting average over his last 21 games. Has 4 homers, 2 steals, and OPS around 850. And again, we might need shortstop replacements, so Matt McClain, a potential option for this week. And some deeper league names. Ha-Sung Kim homered twice this weekend. Christian Moore has 3 homers and 2 steals over his last 7 games. Jared Triolo has actually been solid for a while now. Last 34 games, hitting over 300 with 4 homers, 7 steals, and OPS over 850. And Zach Cole hit a mammoth home run off of Logan Gilbert here on Sunday. The Astros, 6 games this week, at least 5 righties on the schedule, 1 TBD. So if you're in a very deep 5 outfielder league, I think Zach Cole could be an option for you. Any thoughts, any interest in these other names here? Triolo, Christian Moore, Ha-Sung Kim, who we kind of spoke about?
I mean, Ha-Sung Kim is the most interesting for this last week. You brought up Xander Bogaerts before, and I think I'd just go with Kim over Bogaerts for this final week, even though Bogaerts is owned in 5 times as many leagues or something like that. 3 times as many leagues. Yeah, the others, I don't. I mean, obviously Christian Moore has a prospect pedigree. He was good in the minors. We've seen he's been up in the majors long enough that we should have seen something by now to remain interested in him, and we haven't. So I don't see myself using him in the final week. Cole, yeah, I like the matchups for the Astros. He had been, I believe, 0 for 11 prior to this game, and the strikeouts are an issue. So I do think that's more of a deeper league play, Zach Cole.
All right, any interest in these waiver wire pitchers for the final week? I'm pretty sure we like all of these names, so I'm just going to have you rank them based on matchups here. But Kyle Bradish is at the Yankees, who we spoke about. Emmet Sheehan is at the Mariners. Luis Morales had another quality start. He gets the Royals this week. Bubba Chandler looked great against the Athletics. He had 15 whiffs on just 68 pitches. He is at the Braves. And Parker Messick continues to pitch well. He had 9 strikeouts over 5 1/3 at the Twins. And he gets the Tigers this week in that massive series. So how would you rank those 5 names? Messick, Bubba Chandler, Morales, Sheehan, and Kyle Bradish.
I will go Bradish, Sheehan, Messick, Morales, Chandler. Did I miss anybody?
Nope, those are the 5.
I think I'd go Sheehan over Bradish, but I can't disagree. The only thing I would say is just because that game with the Tigers could effectively be a playoff game for Parker Messick and the Guardians, you do have to be on guard for the potential of them treating it like a playoff game. And if you've watched the playoffs in the last decade, you know that might mean he gets in trouble in the 3rd inning, he gets pulled because the Guardians have a strong bullpen and they have 0 margin for error. So that would be the one thing I would say in that situation. And then there's the Sheehan one where they might have nothing to play for him, just want him fresh and just opt to skip his start. So there are some contingencies like that to keep an eye on. But I was very impressed by Bubba Chandler's start, I want to say. Last 2 have been excellent. I think 1 earned run over 13 innings in the last 2 starts, if I'm remembering correctly.
11 innings, but yeah.
11 innings. He only went 5 in this one. That's what it was. Okay. It's 13 strikeouts over the last 2 starts. It was really good to see 4 whiffs on the slider because it's been fastball changeup have been the good whiff pitches for Bubba Chandler, and the breaking balls haven't really been there. So it's good to see that as we, project ahead for 2026, where I have no idea where he's going to rank. It's been such a weird season for him, but
Chandler
nice
or
to see
Misiorowski?
him. I think you'd have to go Misiorowski. But Chandler was considered the better prospect of the 2, and I don't think it was all that close up until Misiorowski got to the majors. So I think it's close.
Some other shallow league names that I think are all behind the group that we just spoke about, but Noah Cameron is finishing strong here. He's at the Athletics this week. Jamison Tyone, a great 2-start week. He gets the Cardinals, and Clayton Kershaw made his final home start of the regular season of his career, rather. No regular season because he could pitch in the postseason, but he wasn't great in that one. He's at the Mariners this week. Do any of those names or matchups interest you? Noah Cameron, Tyone, and Clayton Kershaw?
I probably rank them. I'm forgetting the names now. Tyone 2nd, Kershaw 3rd, and who was 1st?
Noah Cameron.
Noah Cameron. Yeah, I'd probably put Cameron 1st, but the Athletics can be. They can pose a problem sometimes. So I don't have Cameron on my sleeper pitcher list. Plus, he's I think he's rostered over 75%, so he didn't quite make the threshold. But he's okay. I would the way his last 3 starts have gone. I think it's fine to use him. I have no interest in using Kershaw.
Medium-sized leagues, Trey Savage took a step back here in his 2nd start at the Royals. 4 innings, 4 runs allowed, 3 walks to 2 strikeouts. Tyler Mahle looked pretty good in his return against the Marlins. 4 2/3 shutout with 6 strikeouts. Slade Ciccone was great at the Twins. 7 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts for him. Eduardo Rodriguez, a strong start against the Phillies. 6 shutout innings with 5 strikeouts. And Cade Cavalli was solid at the Mets. 5 shutout with 3 strikeouts, and he If I'm going over to the matchups real quick, Cavalli gets the White Sox, Erod at the Padres, Ciccone gets the Rangers, Tyler Mahle is home against the Twins, and Trey Savage gets the Rays. Are you interested in using any of those names in this final week?
I think Savage is interesting. Yeah. He's got a pretty good matchup, like Scott said earlier, against the Rays, a team that he just had nine strikeouts in his major league debut against. Splitter looks very good still. The rest of the arsenal obviously wasn't quite there in this one. He's a work in progress, and the thing to keep in mind about Trey Savage is it was pretty surprising that they called him up. You know, I don't think we really had that one on the bingo board there. So it's sort of found money, but he's clearly a talented pitcher. I think he's right in terms of talent. Is he much beyond like Nolan McLean? I don't really think so. It's just obviously he's much less proven against major league talent. So when you're looking at 2026, he'll be ranked below, but I think it's similar upside, similar talent. So that's definitely
before they got
betting
called
on.
up, I'm sure Savage ranked higher on all the prospect lists. So he's definitely talented. Obviously, this was disappointment at Kansas City. The matchup was so good. The control kind of came back on him, 58% strike rate in this one, and that was an issue in the minors too. So I'm a little worried that Savage gets called up. I'm like, well, you can't use him right away with so much on the line. And then he has a great start. It's like, okay, use him against Kansas City. Not so good. It's like, well, okay, but look what he just did against the Rays last time. Now use him against the Rays again. If it goes bad, then it's like, oh, I said to sit him for the one great start and then start him for the two bad ones. I have a bad feeling that's what's going to happen. I did after this start, just in terms of ranking sleeper pitchers for next week, I dropped Savage behind Parker Messick and Connolly Early, even though his third start wasn't the greatest either. I still think I'd go with those two against the Tigers over Savage against the Rays.
I don't have a ton of interest in any of the other guys. Ciccone, he's had a couple of good starts, but on the whole has been pretty underwhelming. Mahle, it's a pretty good matchup against the Twins, but he got to 68 pitches. Are they going to push him to 80? I could see it, but it's not a guarantee, especially because if the Rangers have anything left to play for when that start comes, they will. Yeah, they probably don't have anything left to play for, right? They're like 5 games back. Yeah. Rangers are further back than the Marlins at this point, it looks like. Tough break. So I guess that won't matter. They won't necessarily have a ton riding on it, so they won't have that slim margin for error. So maybe they give him a little run, but I've never been much of a believer in Tyler Mahle this season anyway, so I don't really think he's all that good.
Anything to see here with these deeper league names? Bryce Elder gets the Nationals this week. Michael Lorenzen is at the Angels. Jansen Junk at the Phillies. Kyle Harrison gets the Tigers, and Logan Allen gets the Rangers. All 5 pitched well this weekend. Again, just deep league names, but can you see yourself using any in like a 15-team league or something?
I mean, if you need a deep league option, I think Steven Kolek's the one against the Angels, who've made everybody look like Nolan Ryan here in recent weeks.
Yeah. I did pick up Bryce Elder in a deeper league for this upcoming week. The Nationals is a good matchup. His last 6 starts, 2.63 ERA, 101 WHIP. I think there is some volatility for him to just have a complete blow-up outing here, but he's been pitching well. He's getting ground balls, and a good matchup there against the Nationals.
Bryce Elder's pitching really well. His slider has been awesome. Lately, it's got like a 43% whiff rate in the month of September. I don't buy it at all, but I think the last time we talked about him, I said I wanted to look for reasons to get away from my knee-jerk opposition to him, given his success, and that would be the one reason, I guess.
All right, starter sit these pitchers in the final week. Let's try to move a little quicker through this. Just give me a starter sit on these names. But Shota Imanaga has been struggling. He's given up 10 homers over his last 5 starts. He gets the Cardinals this week.
Start, given the matchup, he's going to be fascinating to rank for 2026. I'm not sure he's a top 40 starting pitcher. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Start unless you're just loaded.
Yeah. Nick Lodolo, 2 rough starts in a row. He, in 4 starts since returning, a 5.95 ERA and a 142 whip, but he gets the Pirates this week. So I think we have to use Lodolo, right?
He actually got a ton of whiffs in this outing over the weekend, even though the result wasn't good. 20 whiffs. Am I reading this right? He got 20 whiffs. That's that would suggest the stuff was good, even though the result was bad. Against the Pirates, I'd trust Lodolo.
We mentioned his name earlier, but Framber Valdez over his last 9 starts is a 6.71 ERA and a 159 whip. He is at the Athletics this week.
That's a tough place to pitch, given the way he's pitching. I would lean towards starting him, but I totally get if you don't want to.
I'd lean sit.
I think I would probably lean sit as well. I did just want to quickly see how he's performed against the Athletics this year. 6 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, and that was the only start that he made against them. But yeah, he's pitching pretty poorly right now. That's Framber Valdez. Zach Gallen continues to pitch well, this time against the Phillies. 7 innings, 3 runs, 9 strikeouts, 14 whiffs on 103 pitches, but he gets the Dodgers this week.
I have to sit him against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't trust it.
Last 10 starts, by the way, 2.82 ERA and a 0.99 whip there for Zach Gallen.
Yeah, I want to find it. I think the peripherals are still not great in that stretch, even though it's a 3.75 FIP over the last 10 starts. Strikeout rate's only 21%. That would be the lowest of his career by 4 percentage points. I don't see much reason to buy into this run for him.
He is doing some things a little bit better. He's the walks are way down.
Changeup's been great.
The ground ball rate is up and the hard contact is down too. So he's kind of like traded in some strikeouts here, but all the other things look pretty promising, I guess, for Zach Gallen during that 10-start stretch. Joe Ryan is struggling quite a bit. Last 6 starts, 7.33 ERA, 163 whip, 9 homers allowed during that time, and he is at the Phillies this week.
I'd start him.
I mean, it hasn't been as long as it's been for Framber and Robbie Ray. Yeah, there's not really a common thread to explain why Joe Ryan has struggled so much. I think
a lot of home runs,
and that's part of the package with him. I don't want to start him, so I would look for reasons not to. But depending on the size of your league, the depth of pitching on the waiver wire, he may end up being your best choice regardless. Joe Ryan.
Yuri Perez had himself a nice 2-start week, 9 shutout innings with 15 strikeouts, just 1 walk. But he gets the Mets this week. And I think he struggled against them quite a bit last time.
Yes, he didn't get out of the first inning last time he faced them.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about using him this week?
I'd use him, but I've tended to be on the more optimistic side about Yuri Perez for most of the season. So
he's been last 2 starts mixing in a sweeper more. That's might be helping his slider be more effective. I don't know. That's that other than the results themselves, that's the main thing I've noticed for Yuri Perez. So maybe it's something. I would lean towards starting him in a categories league because I'm not sure he's going to give you I'm not sure he's going to go deep into the game. I might look elsewhere at a head-to-head points league.
All right, some early round hitters who did some things this weekend. Ellie De La Cruz broke his homerless streak on Friday. That was his 20th home run of the season. Ronald Acuna is finishing strong here. Last 10 games, hitting .368 with 3 homers and 2 steals. Jazz Chisholm homered twice this weekend, and he becomes the 3rd Yankee ever to go 30-30. Juan Soto will not stop. 2 for 3 with a sock and a shoe on Friday. He added another steal on Saturday. He's up to 42 homers and 35 steals. He absolutely has to be gunning for 40-40. Right?
Yeah, let's get a 40-40 season. Why not?
We've got 6 games to get 5 more steals, but I mean, at his pace, he can get it done this week. Shohei Ohtani stayed hot. He homered 2 more times this weekend and having a pretty massive September. 8 homers, 1258 OPS. Cal Raleigh hit 2 more homers this weekend. He's up to 58 now. Jose Ramirez has secured back-to-back 30-40 seasons. He is just the 4th player in MLB history with multiple seasons of 30 homers and 40 steals. Bobby Bonds did it 4 times. Alfonso Soriano did it twice. Barry Bonds also did it twice. Fernando Tatis Jr. is having himself a strong September, hitting .288 with 5 homers, 5 steals, .839 OPS. And Corbin Carroll had a huge game on Sunday, 2 for 5 with a sock in a shoe, his 31st homer, his 30th steal, the first 30-30 season in D-backs history.
It's pretty
So,
neat.
Some
The
big
Yankees
names here.
only had 3?
It's kind of surprising, right?
Counting Chisholm?
Yeah.
I'm trying. So
I think
Alfonso
it's so
Soriano
funny.
was one.
Bobby Bonds.
It's the third Yankee ever to do it, but maybe there were Yankees that did it multiple times. But yeah,
I believe
saying-
Bobby Bonds was the other one.
So none of them are even the Hall of Famers.
I don't think so. No.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's the thing is who would have. You know,
Well, I was trying to think through them.
like Mantle stole some bases, but I don't think it was a ton.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
only
they
got
were-
to 20 once, I think.
they weren't even really like speedsters, right? So
Yeah, no, it was Bobby Bonds. I love how often like Bobby Bonds was like, I don't know, half the player his son was, a third the player his son was. He was still a great player. That's not a knock on him. But he shows up on all of these like 30-30, 30-40 lists way more than you would expect.
yeah. So pretty big
Also-
weekends there.
Just want to point out, Shohei Ohtani has 141 runs.
He's averaging almost a run per game this season.
Yeah.
141 runs in 153 games. It's crazy.
Like non-zero chance he gets to 150 runs, which I don't think has happened since Jeff Bagwell in like 1998 or something.
Damn. Some hitting leftovers here. Jackson Merrill continues his nice stretch. Last 14 games, .316 batting average with 6 homers, OPS over 1,100, just hitting a ton of fly balls and hitting the ball extremely hard during that time. Ben Rice putting the finishing touches on a strong season, 4 for 5 with his 24th homer and 5 RBI on Sunday. George Springer, just a ridiculous bounce back year, hit his 30th homer on Friday, .305 batting average, 101 runs scored, 16 steals. He also, I think, had an IL stint this year. At 36 years old, I have no idea how he'll be treated in drafts next season. He is going to be a fascinating player, George
That's going to
Springer.
be one of the toughest to rank, I think,
Yes.
regardless of position.
Is he a free agent?
I don't believe so.
No.
I think he has at least one more.
He has 1 year left. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause that would throw even more uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that ended fast. 6 years. That was a fast 6 years.
Yeah.
And Brandon Lau, I wanted to mention, has quietly just had a great season. Hit his 30th home run on Sunday. He has done that in 130 games with 81 RBI and a 786 OPS as well. Some pitching leftovers here. We have just 4 names. Trevor Rogers, awesome again, this time against the Yankees. 6 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts. Hunter Brown, a tough loss against the Mariners. 6 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts. Carlos Rodon picked up his 17th win. This one at the Orioles, 7 innings of 1-run ball with 8 strikeouts. Threw his changeup a lot more, and it was incredible. And George Kirby, 2 strong starts in a row. This one at the Astros, 6 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts. Anything on Kirby, Rodon, Hunter Brown, and Trevor Rogers?
Kirby, looking ahead to 2026, I think there's going to be where I rank George Kirby, and then there's going to be where I rank George Kirby once I see what he looks like next spring, because even with the good start here and a couple good starts in a row, it's still no splitter, very few changeups. He hasn't thrown a splitter in a start, I think, since the first start of August. And that's something I've talked about. He had to change his mechanics as a result. I assume it was as a result of the shoulder injury, but it's caused him to lose the feel for the splitter. And I think it's just made him a worse pitcher. And so I kind of want to see him next spring, see, does he have the splitter back? Is he pitching like he was pre-2025? That'll probably be the difference between ranking him, 18th and ranking him 30th at starting pitcher.
All right, the call to the bullpen for the Athletics on Friday. Michael Kelly got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He allowed a hit and walk, but picked up his 2nd save. For the Orioles on Friday, Keegan Aiken got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He struck out 2 for his 8th save. But then he pitched here on Sunday in extra innings with the game tied, and he gave up 3 runs, including 2 homers. So not great there for Keegan Aiken. For the Rockies on Friday, Victor Vodnik picked up his 9th save, and then on Sunday he picked up his 10th. He is pretty much just the closer for the Rockies. For the Dodgers on Friday, Tanner Scott got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He allowed 2 base runners, but picked up his 22nd save. And then on Saturday, they went with Jack Dreyer, who picked up his 4th save of the season. For the Tigers on Saturday, Will Vest got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, took his 7th blown save and 5th loss. That is 2 pretty rough outings in a row here for Will Vest. And for the Marlins on Saturday, Calvin Fauché got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He allowed a run, but picked up his 15th save. And then on Sunday, George Soriano got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He struck out 1 for his first save. The Marlins do not have a closer, and they never will ever again. To stream or not to stream on Monday, we have a 3-game slate. So your options are Michael McGreevy at the Giants and Justin Verlander against the Cardinals. Actually, I think both are fine.
Yeah, I don't hate him. Verlander's really good, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
I especially like him if it's a weekly lineup and he gets the second start against the Rockies in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And then on Tuesday, we have Johan Oviedo at the Reds. Edward Cabrera, I don't think we're using him. Shane Smith at the Yankees. Brad Lord is at the Braves. Zebby Matthews at the Rangers. Christian Javier at the Athletics. Jeffrey Springs home against the Astros.
Springs could be fine because he always has a chance to be fine. And then I like Christian Javier. There's a chance it goes
fly ball pitcher in Sacramento is a little scary, but
it goes really poorly.
And one who I'm not even sure he's good. So
I think he's pretty good. I don't know if he's good, but I think he's on the way to good.
I ended up removing Javier from the sleeper pitchers list, even though he was one of the few who lined up for 2 starts. One, I don't think you can really count on anybody making 2 starts the final week. And 2, the first start is in Sacramento. So I just didn't feel good about it. Having said that, you probably want me to pick somebody to stream here on Tuesday. And I don't like any of the options, really. So
not the best.
Javier does feel like the highest upside play, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little safer with Oviedo at Cincinnati, I think.
All right, look at us. Our final weekend recap of the year, and it wasn't an hour and 20 minutes, so that was nice. I guess we'll talk more about this as the week goes on, but our off-season programming starting next week will transition into just 2 podcasts per week, and that'll be our schedule basically through December, and then we'll start to ramp things back up after that. But we are still here for 5 days for the rest of, 4 more days for the rest of this week, and then that will change heading into the offseason. We're going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.